3, 2. Well, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you might be joining us from. We're very glad to have you with us today. I'm Lisa Rainey. I'm an Associate Director of Admissions here at Syracuse. I'm joined by my colleagues, Mary Fedorko from Syracuse Abroad. You'll get to meet Mary in just a moment. Also behind the scenes, our colleague, Mike McGrath from here in the admissions office, who will be helping with our Q&A session today. So very glad to have all of you here. We'll give it just a moment as everyone's coming into the Zoom room. We're here, of course, today to talk about our discovery programs for first semester study abroad for the coming fall semester, fall of 2022. So lots to cover tonight. We'll be doing introductions, of course. You get to know the staff who are here tonight. We'll give you a nice overview of the discovery program, center by center, to give you a sense of what you could expect at each location. We'll talk about the application process a bit, since that's where most of you probably are in this process. We'll also talk about safety and, of course, COVID and all the different changes in protocol that have been in place. Of course, we can't predict the future, but to give you a sense of the monitoring and actions that are being taken to make sure our students are safe, certainly here on campus as well as abroad. And we'll have time for questions, of course, at the end. You can ask questions using the Q&A box throughout the presentation. If it fits with one of the slides that we're already presenting, we'll kind of address that during the presentation. Some questions, don't be alarmed, we may wait until the end just to make sure we have time to get through everything. We'll be here for about 45 to 50 minutes tonight, longer if we do need more time for questions. So we really hope that this session is helpful for you. So you know a bit about me. I've worked here in the office for about 13 years now. I've worked with discovery students really that whole time. It really is a joy and really one of the best parts of my job is to work with students who are thinking about this program. And I'd like to introduce and give my colleague Mary Fedorko a chance to speak. She's joining us tonight from Syracuse Abroad. Thank you, Mary.
Hi, thank you, Lisa. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Mary Fedorko. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at the Study Abroad office at Syracuse University called Syracuse Abroad. And I work with a team of people who, when you get into the discovery program, we work with you every single step of the way to get you ready to land in your destination.
Thank you, Mary. And typically during these sessions, we do have Discovery alumni here with us. Tonight, our students are really getting ready for finals. It's almost the end of the semester. So you'll have me and Mary here tonight. We are certainly happy to connect you with Discovery students if you'd like to chat with an alumni of the program. They'll definitely be joining us in the spring when we host a similar event for accepted students. So don't worry, you'll have lots of opportunities to connect with participants of the program who have come back to campus and are really happy to share their experiences with you. So first, I'll kind of jump in here and give you an overview of the program. You know, we started sending students abroad here at Syracuse back in 1919, I believe, typically for upperclassmen students. So in the third or fourth year is traditionally when students would go abroad. Back in 2008, we sent our first group of first-year students to Florence. We added the Strasbourg program in 2013 for first-year students. And then, of course, Madrid, we added for, again, first-year students in 2015. So we've been doing this for quite some time, and it's really a special program here at Syracuse. There are certain requirements, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as far as the application process and admissions. But for now, just know that this opportunity for first semester study abroad is open to students who are applying to the College of Arts and Sciences or the Maxwell School at Syracuse, and or the College of Engineering and Computer Science. So it's only open to students within those majors. That's by design. We want you to take courses that align with your degree requirements. This will not make you take longer to graduate. And that's why for the time being, it's only open to students in those particular academic programs. So again, all the classes that students take abroad, and we'll talk about this kind of location by location in a little bit, but they count towards your first year degree requirements. They mirror the courses that students would take here on campus. They're just unique a little bit to the location. Courses are taught in English. That's really important to know. So students don't have to be proficient in Italian or in Spanish or in French to go abroad. It's great if you are. You will learn the language together with your other Discovery students who are taking the intro courses together. If you have a higher level of proficiency, great. You may test into a literature class or a higher level course of some kind. As far as timing, it basically is the same as the semester here on campus. So students leave in August. Usually they have a fall break at each center, and then they come home in December. I saw online, the Madrid students were coming back last week. So students come home in time to spend the winter holiday break at home with their families, and then come join us on campus in January. So they take part in winter welcome, they move into residence halls on campus, and get ready to continue their studies here on campus in January. All of our programs live with homestays with local families. I see we have a question in the chat about, or the Q&A about where students live. So each of these programs are homestay with a local family, typically 2 students to a family in most cases. And there's a lot of independent travel, and we'll talk about the way that works in a little bit. But that's a really broad overview. What we'll do next is kind of take you through a tour of each location. Mary will take it from here, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the application process after you get to know each center a bit. Mary?
Sure. Well, the Madrid program, I think Lisa mentioned that all of these programs have upperclassmen at the location. Our Madrid program is usually about 100 students, so it's not a very, very large center. And so you would be studying there with, juniors, sophomores, and juniors, but you have your own, all of the Discovery programs have their own programming, their own orientation, and their own field trips for the first-year students, in addition to having mentors and a class where they bring upperclassmen in to also help connect you with our main campus. In Madrid, yes, we have a special orientation for you. Actually, stepping back, we have an orientation that our Syracuse staff gives to you. And then when you get to Madrid, you have a more extensive on-the-ground orientation. All students, despite what level you are, all students take Spanish language. All students also, except for the engineering students, it's not required, it's optional. The first-year seminar, it's a 1-credit class where you really learn a lot about what it's like being a college student, a Syracuse University student, help connect you with the main campus in terms of housing and meal plans and courses and dormitories. It's a really great way to bond with the other Discovery students, but also feel connected with our main campus. We have humanities and engineering curriculum. Engineering computer science students can attend the Madrid program. And woven into the different classes are field trips, such as museum visits, neighborhood walking tours. The Madrid program is a very, very dynamic program. Lots of activities woven in, local outings, day trips that the center staff arranges for you, some themed trips such as going to Malaga, Picasso's birthplace, Cordoba, Muslim Spain, and all of these outings and day trips are included in the cost of your program fee. It's not an additional cost, and it's all planned and run by our staff. And there are 11 staff members at our Madrid center. They've been working together for quite some time. They're a very friendly, approachable, helpful team of people, a very well-oiled machine. You will be taken care of very well by our Madrid staff in Madrid.
Thank you, Mary. I'm happy to talk about the Strasbourg Center a little bit. Similarly to Madrid, there is a first year experience. All students will take French language courses together. There's not a requirement for a certain level of proficiency, though, of course, if you have some familiarity, that's great. There is a really unique opportunity at Strasbourg to attend sessions at the European Parliament, the European Court of Human Rights. That tends to be a big draw for students interested in international relations in particular. It's a very popular program, certainly for students in many different majors, but they are especially drawn to that center for that reason. There's a lot of amazing work that happens there. A lot of class field trips. We always have to encourage Discovery students to remember, we want you to do your independent travel, but wait until you get on the ground, until you get your syllabus, to see what's included, what's required, because there really are some phenomenal trips that happen that might be required for your courses. So once you get there, find out what's included and required, and then you can really start to plan your own independent travel. As you can see here on the slide, some of these trips are pretty amazing. They do tend to go outside of France as well. Usually there are some trips to Paris as well. It's a pretty quick ride on the high-speed rail, so that's a nice opportunity. It is right, Strasbourg, if you're not familiar, is located basically across the river, very close to Germany. So students might take a tram into Germany, have a really great experience, come back, ride their bikes there for the day. It's a really nice way to sort of get a 2-for-1 experience studying in France, but also having access to Germany right across the border as well. Now, typically, Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, usually in Strasbourg, there are still 2 students to a family, but you're in a room by yourself, right? Is that typically the case in Strasbourg?
That's correct. There are 2 students per homestay, and in almost all cases, students get their own bedroom and their own and the shared bathroom.
Right, so that's good to know. Again, at all centers, typically 2 students to a host family, but in Strasbourg, you usually get your own room. So that's a nice perk. Again, wonderful staff. I mean, we really can't convey enough to you how terrific the faculty and staff are at these centers. They take very good care of all of their students, but I think particularly our first year students. It's a family orientation is kind of all together with all the staff members really leading you into the experience that you're having. And just it's really a labor of love. They really love what they do and take very good care of the students, particularly those first year students. So we love to really highlight them. And with that, we'll move on our tour of Europe here. And Mary will talk to you a bit more about our Discovery Florence program.
And also just to mention one other thing about the Strasbourg program. The Strasbourg program is a little smaller. We normally have about 50 students on it. So it's a quite a nice intimate group, I should say. Now our Florence program, Florence is our oldest center. It was founded in 1959. And the center, the building where our classes are held and where the office spaces and library and public greeting rooms is in a beautiful villa that Syracuse University purchased with a beautiful courtyard. It really is a very striking, physically striking place. Again, all students take Italian, the first year seminar, and many courses. I mean, especially if you're interested in something like art history, if you'd like to explore that. Lots of interesting courses, Italian film, lots of things to pique your interest. And again, many field trips are connected with the courses. And as Lisa said, wait until you get there to see what your itinerary is going to be, your schedule is going to be before you plan any additional trips, because we do keep you pretty busy. And again, lots of museums to see and markets and gelato shops and olive oil tasting, wine tasting, lots of activities to keep you engaged. And there are three of the main staff people. Jessica and Melanie will be two that you will work with quite closely because they work with housing, student life, field trips, and so on. But we do have quite a large staff, over 20 people, because Florence is one of our largest programs. We have about 300 to 350 students from schools all over the country come on this program. It's very popular nationally.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Mary. We should mention at the discovery locations, the discovery groups are pretty small. So in Florence, it might be 20 to 30 first-year students, along with upperclassmen from both Syracuse and other universities. The same in Madrid, it might be 20 to 30 students total, depending on the year. First-year students, I should say, along with upperclassmen from Syracuse, lots of other places. And Strasbourg, as Mary mentioned, is a smaller center with usually 15 to 20 discovery students. It varies by year, but that's typically what you can expect. What's good about that is you have a very close-knit cohort of first-year students on the ground, but you also get to meet people from other institutions, other years here at Syracuse. So it's not just those individuals who are at the centers. All of these cities have a lot of students who are there. So you will have a chance to meet local students. There's a lot of meetups and social things planned through the centers as well. So I think that's good to know. You really get a big network pretty quickly and a lot of opportunities to meet with other students. So after that quick tour of our amazing centers and staff, so we'd like to talk to you a little bit about the application process, and that's really the part that I'm involved with here in the admissions office. So many of you are probably seniors right now and kind of navigating this process now. So we'll talk about that. The way that it works here at Syracuse, on the common application, if you are applying to one of those programs that we talked about earlier, so the College of Arts and Sciences, the Maxwell School, or the College of Computer Science and Engineering, you'll see as an option, do you want to be considered for the Discovery Program for first semester study abroad? I know some of you in the group tonight might still be deciding what major you want to apply for. If you're interested in our business school or Newhouse or VPA or any of our other programs, you won't be able to apply for Discovery, but you will certainly have opportunities to study abroad later. So we have many, many different ways that students can go abroad. But for this first semester experience that we're here to talk about tonight, you'll need to be applying to the College of Arts and Sciences, Maxwell, or College of Engineering and Computer Science. So with that said, if you check yes, that you really want to be considered for Discovery, usually within 1 to 2 weeks, it's taken us a little bit longer this fall, but within 1 to 2 weeks, you'll get an application confirmation message that says, great, you've applied. We see that you're interested in Discovery. This is wonderful. We'll send you a link, and that link will take you to your Discovery supplement. Pretty straightforward. It confirms a few things that you're, interested in the program, that you talk a little bit about why you've decided to apply, but you'll need to complete that supplement so that we can consider you for this program. So be sure to check your email, again, usually a week or two after you submit your application, and then you'll get the link to that supplement. I see some of you asking in the Q&A if we've already submitted our Common App, can we still apply for Discovery? Yeah, we can work with you on that. I'll share my email address at the end and we can follow up to work you through that process. So no worries. One thing that we should talk about, even if you're not sure if you're going to apply for Discovery, if it's just something you're thinking about tonight, if you don't have a passport, go ahead and apply for one now. This was a big challenge last year with a lot of the State Department not being open. There were a lot of delays in getting passports. So if you don't have one at all, get one now. The holidays are coming. That's a great gift. Go ahead and get your passport. If you have a passport, pull it out of the drawer. Make sure that it's valid through at least July 1st of 2023. If it expires before then, go ahead and renew it. That may take a little bit of time. There are still some delays there, but you really want to make sure that you have a valid passport that's good through at least 1 year after the program. So that date, approximately July 1st, 2023, super important. Couple of other things, definitely talk to your parents or guardians about your interest in this program. In the last couple of years in particular, we've had a lot of families who didn't know that their students were applying for the Discovery program. They were kind of upset, this was new information to them in the spring. So if this is something on your mind, take it from me, please go ahead and talk to your family about that. On the Discovery supplement, you will see that you need to list a parent or guardian's email address. So they'll get a confirmation that you've applied for this program and get some more information about it. So have that conversation. We'll record this session. So if a parent couldn't come with you tonight, they can watch this together. Mary and I are both very glad to hear from parents and guardians if they have questions. We've been on location, we've sat in on orientation. We know the center staff and the students and are very happy to talk about the program with anyone who might have questions. So for your benefit and for ours too, make sure you're having those conversations at this point rather than a little bit later in the process once it's kind of go time and ready to pack and get going. I see some questions in the Q&A and we'll talk about the age requirement. We have a general cutoff of July 1st for students to turn 18. So if you're looking to apply for the fall 2022 semester, we want you to be 18 years old by July 1st or about there. If your birthday's in July, if it's not too far past that date, send us an email, we can talk about it. But that's not a Syracuse requirement. That's an international requirement to get your student visa. So that's not us, but talk to us if your birthday is a little after July 1. We have some flexibility, but we want you to, we won't necessarily talk about the group visa application process tonight, but it makes it a lot easier when students are 18 and we're able to help them get their visas to go abroad. So if you have questions about your date of birth, just send us an email. We can talk about that. I see a couple of questions about, can I apply to more than one of the Discovery programs? Great question. So if you're interested in any kind of pre-med or health professions or engineering or computer science program, you really want to apply to Madrid as your first choice, because that's where you can take the introductory science courses for those areas. So that's worth noting. You can rank your preference for each location on your Discovery supplement. So if you love Strasbourg, that's your first choice. You can tell us that. But if you'd be happy to be considered for another program, you can tell us that as well. From the admissions side, if you apply to a program that you list first, we do our best to offer you admission to that center, unless maybe you're a science student and we really need to put you in the Madrid program so you have access to the courses that you need. That's just a bit about the application process. We have some other questions about financials and meeting prior to going abroad, and we'll talk about those in just a little bit. I want to make sure Mary has time to talk about health and safety and the many ways that we support students while they're abroad.
Right, that our two main staff members at the Syracuse location is Seth Tucker, who is Director of Global Security. He's really the main person who is monitoring COVID and working with the centers abroad to discuss protocol, and he's our main person. He's got a team of people under him is Bridget Demarest, the Assistant Director of Student Engagement. And yeah, you have a lot of support going abroad for sure. Like I said, you will have orientation before you leave. When you get there, you'll have orientation. In some centers, they even have a local police officer come to talk to you about staying safe at your site. You'll also have access to health care, to mental health care. In Florence, for example, we have a doctor who comes to the center every week to check with students if they need to see a doctor. In Madrid, we have a nurse that visits 2 days a week. So our staff abroad will assist students if they have any sort of health situation. Everyone is covered by medical insurance when they go abroad. We also ask that students, if they're leaving their city, complete a form so that we know where you are. We have an alert traveling system where if we need to contact you, if you're not in your city, we have a way of doing that. So we really pay a lot of attention to your safety and providing you the support that you need. That's really our number one priority. And COVID protocol, yes. We, as I mentioned, Seth Tucker and his team work full-time on this, and working with our centers abroad and with CDC and other health officials. We have successfully sent students abroad in spring 2021. We sent a small group to Florence, pretty much at the height of the pandemic. We sent about 550 students abroad this fall. Most of them have already returned. We have a handful doing some center-sponsored travel right now. They should be coming back in a few days. So we are very vigilant, and we have every intention of sending our students in fall 22 abroad, of which you hopefully will be part of the cohort. If anything changes, we stay in close contact with students. Sometimes we'll have webinars, we'll send out emails to students and parents, always letting them know what's going on. The situation's been fluid, and you can rest assured that we are on top of it. All Syracuse University students going abroad are required to have a vaccination. And actually, we're strongly encouraging students to have a booster as well. Now, if you come to the main campus, we also ask that you are vaccinated, but we do give medical and religious exemptions. Unfortunately, of course, if you go abroad, the foreign governments require vaccinations. And we have found that if students are not vaccinated, they can't have a full experience. They can't get into cafes or museums or public areas. So everyone should expect to be fully vaccinated, and the booster as well. And you can also rest assured that all of our professors, our staff members, our host families are all vaccinated and follow a very strict COVID protocol based on what the local requirements are in those cities and countries.
Thank you, Mary. I hope it brings a lot of comfort to students and parents who might be watching from home. This is not an experiment. We were able to start sending students abroad almost a year ago and have learned a lot through those experiences. And as Mary mentioned, just a ton of university leadership who are constantly monitoring ongoing situations here in the States, certainly in Europe as well. So we want you to know, these decisions are made with an abundance of caution, and our students are having a great experience. It's been a little different this fall, as you can imagine, than maybe 2 years ago, but we're hopeful that that sort of return to normalcy will continue, and hopefully you'll be a part of that experience as well. We do have some questions in the chat, and we will get to those in just a moment. We do want to give you some resources here to learn more about the centers kind of in real time. So there's a lot of online resources here. The Instagram presence might be a little bit quieter now that students are home from break, but you're welcome to check out each center on Instagram. There are a lot of Instagram lives on there that you can take a look at from past semesters to get a sense of what students are able to do in the classroom and outside of it. Facebook, certainly a strong presence for each of the centers as well. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we are happy to connect you with a global ambassador. That's what we call our alumni who took part in the Discovery program. Tonight, it's just me and Mary and Mike behind the scenes, but we're happy to connect you with students if you'd like to chat with them one-on-one about their experiences. So make sure you take an opportunity to learn more. At this point, we'd really like to spend the remainder of our time together answering the questions that you might have. So you'll see on the screen here my email address and Mary's email address. Write that down, take a screenshot, make sure you stay in touch with us because we are very happy to help you throughout this process. So with that in mind, we have a number of questions here rolling in. Amazing. So we'll go ahead and get started. You can still use the Q&A box to send additional questions in. This first question, I think, Mary, is for you. So do students meet in person or via Zoom prior to leaving for their discovery location, or do they meet at, for the first time at their destination?
Yeah, that's a common question. Actually, you do not come to the Syracuse University campus and then fly out. Everybody flies out from wherever they are in the United States, or if you're an international student from your country. So we do have an orientation. We don't really meet each other, but every once in a while, a student will ask me, can I set up a GroupMe chat link? And if I set it up, will you send that link to all the students? So I have done that before. And actually, some of the fall 21 cohorts were chatting, and I felt they knew each other very well before they landed in country. But that is one way that students do meet.
Thank you, Mary. There's also the pre-departure sessions that you do online as well, right? So that's another opportunity to
Correct, because
Yeah.
now that it's Zoom, people can have a chance to meet.
Yeah, and typically, as Mary mentioned, everybody who lives here in the US typically flies out of New York City, usually JFK. I don't know if that's still the case, Mary. In the past, not so much this year, but in the past, we used to have group flights, and we'll see if that's something that returns this year. The group flights aren't generally recommended, or rather required, but we usually recommend them. It's usually led by an SU staff member. Everyone meets it in the past JFK airport in New York City, somebody with a big orange sign that says Syracuse Discovery, and it gives you a chance to meet just about everybody in the program on the ground here in the US. You fly over together, the center staff will be there with a van or a bus kind of waiting for you, and they kind of take you off to the center and show you around. So it's just an easier way to travel, and you get to know everybody a little bit as you're traveling. So highly recommend. Hopefully we'll be able to bring those group flights back next year, since that's something that everybody really enjoyed. Okay, so we have a couple of questions about costs, and I think we can address those together. So what does the financial cost look like? How does it affect the cost of attendance? So the cost, sort of the sticker price or billable cost for the Discovery program at the outset is higher. The difference is, though, for first semester study abroad, we offer a grant that covers that difference in cost. So for students, really, as far as your financial aid award would go, it's the same, whether you come here to Syracuse or whether you take part in the Discovery program. So the things that you will need to plan for that are not covered by that grant are your flight, so round trip airfare. Most of the centers, your program fee includes living with the host family and usually 2 meals a day during weekdays. So typically students need to budget for lunch, which can be done very inexpensively, and usually your meals on weekends when you might be traveling with, either friends or with a school trip. Usually the host families don't feed you on the weekends because you're out and about doing other things. So, and of course, spending money, personal travel that you may want to do. So those are expenses kind of out of pocket that you might want to think about. But the billable cost from the university is the same, whether you were coming here to Syracuse or, again, taking part in a Discovery program. So we do our best to kind of make that accessible for students. Okay. We have a question about international relations majors. Are there specific study abroad programs that international relations students lean towards? Discovery in general, for sure. Mary, I don't know if you have any more to say on that note, but Discovery is very popular, I would say, among international relations students.
Exactly. It's really a great place to go. And Strasbourg in particular is quite a draw for international relations students because The city of Strasbourg is where the EU Parliament is located. It's where the Court of Human Rights and the Council of Europe is. It's a very international city. And so IR students tend to really be drawn to that. So, but it really depends on what, if you want, if you want to become fluent in Spanish, if that's going to be your concentration, if you're an IR major, then certainly you'd want to go that route. All three of these programs are phenomenal.
Really can't go wrong for sure. Okay, let's see. We have a question specific to Madrid, Mary. What is the full immersion weekend? What happens and what are the expectations for the full immersion in Madrid?
Well, I think what you mean is the full immersion weekend with your homestay family. That's how I interpret it. For all three of the programs, you will live with a homestay family. There are all different kinds of families. There's husband, wife, young children. There's maybe an older couple, middle-aged couple with older children, families with dogs, cats, goldfish, you name it. When you fill out the forms that we ask you to fill out, people will often say, if I have allergies, am I going to, can you, or if I'm allergic to cats and dogs, or I'm afraid of dogs, we do our very best to match you up with the perfect family for you based on all of these things. And when you, your first weekend in Strasbourg or Madrid or Florence, we ask that you, stay put, don't plan a trip, and really spend a nice long weekend with your family, maybe taking walks around the neighborhood, just bonding with them before your classes start and things start getting hectic. So that's what I interpret as the immersion weekend when you first get there. Also, too, students will say, do the families know English? I don't know Spanish so well, or I don't know Italian. Some of our families know some English. If there's ever any kind of emergency or something very important, our staff will assist and come in, and there's not going to be any problem with any kind of difficulty not knowing the language. However, you will learn the language very quickly, sitting at the dinner table, talking with them. You're going to be taking your language classes, living in the city. You will be amazed at how quickly things start to gel for you, and the ownership that you're going to be able to take of that language.
Thank you, Mary. And I know we have so much joy when we get to see those host families and students matched up for the first time. I think it's important to know, and we actually have a question, Catherine, you read my mind, but I think it's important to note that when you arrive, you have a few days of orientation, usually staying in a local hotel. So you don't show up kind of jet lagged, kind of disoriented a little bit, and we just sort of drop you off at someone's door. There's usually a few days in a hotel where you're taking part in orientation, adapting to the time change, getting to know the center and the staff and the neighborhood and all of that. And usually there's either a dinner or a lunch, and that's where you meet the host family. So it's a lovely event. You get to meet the family and sit and have a meal with them. And then they take you home. And then you have that terrific immersion weekend. There's nothing formal scheduled through the center. You spend time with that host family and get to know them before the semester starts. So I think that's important to know. We've kind of thought of everything. We've been doing this program for a while, and we do our best to really facilitate, and make this experience as comfortable and supportive as it can be. And part of that is that structured orientation. You're in a hotel, you have a few days to adapt. And then you sort of move in and acclimate to living with your host family. So thank you, Mary, for explaining that process. I know students often wonder how we pair up students with the host families. So we don't have any more questions in the Q&A. So now is the time. If you have any remaining questions, as you can see on the slide here, you can always stay in touch with Mary and myself after tonight's event. We're very happy to answer questions that you may have. So it looks like we're good for tonight. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you, Mary, for being here, and Mike behind the scenes, making sure everything's gone well with the Q&A. We're excited for you. We hope that you're excited about this opportunity, and we look forward to hearing more from you as you apply, and hopefully you're accepted to the Discovery program. So stay in touch, everyone. Good luck and have a wonderful evening, okay? Have a great night.